Turkey under fire over pro-Pakistan stance. Mass cancellations of booking to Turkey. Hashtag Boycott Turkey gains momentum on X. No more Turkish delights, stand by Indians. Big blow to Turkey's total tourism revenue. That is our top focus on the NewsTrack.
Hello and welcome. Good evening. You're watching NewsTrack here on India Today. I'm Akshita Nandagopal. This evening we're putting the focus on one of the top trends on social media. The focus of every Indian right now to boycott Turkey and Azerbaijan, two countries that openly came out to back Pakistan. So we're talking about a boycott trend on tourism. So Indians have started cancelling their tickets to both these countries. We're talking about a boycott of Turkish apples, of Turkish companies. The list goes on, which I'll run you through here on this edition of NewsTrack. But let's first take a look at the top headlines. High Court directs FIR against MP Minister Vijay Shah, who insulted Colonel Sofia Qureshi. High Court says Minister promoting religious enmity. Sources say FIR very soon. Pakistan appeals to India over Indus Water, urges India to reconsider Indus Waters treaty being put in abeyance, says it will trigger a crisis in Pakistan. Massive ammunition haul after Shopia encounter. Weapons of 3 slain Lashkar terrorists recovered. Bullets, automatic weapons and grenades seized. BSF Jawan PK Shaw released by Pakistan after 20 days. Celebrations erupt in the Jawan's ancestral village. Call to boycott tourism in Turkey and Azerbaijan intensifies. Indian travel sites see 60% decline in bookings and 250% surge in cancellations. B.R. Gawai is sworn in as 52nd Chief Justice of India. The new CJI will be serving for a tenure of 6 months. And let's begin with a big update coming in. Defence Minister Rajnath Singh will be in all likelihood visiting Jammu and Kashmir tomorrow. Now, on the itinerary, on the agenda, the Defence Minister is going to be visiting the forward areas at the line of control as well as one of the air bases in Jammu and Kashmir. Now, for obvious security reasons, the full details of the Defence Minister's itinerary is not being put out, but we can tell you that on the agenda is a visit to the line of control, to the forward areas, perhaps to areas that were worst hit by Pakistani shelling, when civilians were the worst affected. We also understand one of the air bases in Jammu and Kashmir the Defence Minister will visit. And mind you, that's just days after Prime Minister Modi visited the Adhampur air base. Also on the Defence Minister's schedule is a visit to Bhuj in Gujarat on Friday. Remember, in Gujarat too, we saw incidents of Pakistan attempting to strike at our military establishments and civilian settlements as well. So this is a visit to watch out for, as the Defence Minister will be meeting with our forces, getting a sense of what's the situation along these border areas, perhaps also meeting with civilians who've been very, very badly affected, many of them losing their family members, their loved ones in Pakistani shelling. So that is an update we'll watch out for tomorrow. But let's get your top focus here on NewsTrack. As promised, it's the boycott trend against Turkey as well as Azerbaijan. Tension simmering between India and Pakistan. And another regional twist is drawing sharp attention. What are we talking about? Turkey, once a recipient of India's humanitarian aid in the 2023 earthquake, India rushed to Turkey's help and even launched Operation Dost, only for Turkey to backstab us now. openly siding with Pakistan. Not just siding with them, but even providing them arms needed to attempt to strike India, to strike our civilians, attack our civilians. And that's why Indians essentially have taken a call. They've said anything that's emanating from Turkey, anything that is from Turkey will now be boycotted. Hundreds of Indian tourists have now decided to cancel their scheduled planned holiday to Turkey. Bookings have sharply declined by 60% in just the last 1 week. Let's tell you all about this boycott trend that's gripped social media now in our report.
Pakistan has a new all-weather ally. Turkey sent hundreds of drones, military equipment and even military personnel to help Pakistan fight India. Latest reports have confirmed the death of at least 2 Turkish drone operators in Indian airstrikes on Pakistan.
You can see some quadcopters and you can see one odd Sonka drone hanging by the wire. All these have been brought down by our trained crew and air defense systems.
The Yiha drones are of Turkish origin.
The Turkey-Pakistan tango has sparked massive anger in India. The chorus to boycott Turkish products is hitting fever pitch.
साहिबाद मंडी ने तो बिल्कुल बाइकआउट कर दिया है टर्की के जो भी माल आ रहे हैं हमारे हिंदुस्तान को उन लोगों से व्यापार बंद कर देना चाहिए और तुर्की का भी बाइकआउट करना चाहिए.
Indian tourists are shunning Turkey and another Pakistan ally, Azerbaijan. What has angered Indians is the fact that Turkey is acting against a country that helped them in their hour of need. India had stood by Turkey during the 2023 earthquake, launching Operation Dost and supplying relief material to tide over the humanitarian crisis. Thousands had died in the quake that crippled Turkey and Syria. India also had trade ties with Turkey. In 2024-25, India exports to Turkey stood at $5.2 billion, which was down from $6.65 billion in 2023-24. This accounts for less than 1.5% of India's total exports. Imports from Turkey were worth $2.84 billion in 2024-25 compared to $3.78 billion in 2023-24, just 0.5% of India's total imports. Turkey received around 62.2 million foreign tourists in 2024, with approximately 300,000 coming from India.
Boycott Turkey is trending online right now. The results are many other travel agents have followed our suit, and the results are 22% bookings are cancelled by passengers themselves for Turkey.
Turkey has been once again an ally of Pakistan, not only training but implicating and trying to damage Indian air bases and Indian civilians. 2 personnel have been killed. More than 350 Turkish drones were directed towards India. This is Shivani Sharma with camera person Pawan Kumar for India Today from New Delhi.
There's a sharp contrast in how India rushed to Turkey's help in the 2023 earthquake aftermath versus how Turkey has responded now. How have they shown their happiness over the fact that India stepped in? How have they shown their gratitude by helping Pakistan attack India? And so we decided to contrast that for you. We launched, ironically enough, Operation Dost, because we said that we must help Turkey at this time of need. And so after the 2023 earthquake, we were one of the first countries to help them. How has Turkey responded to this? They provided over 350 plus drones, kamikaze and Songar drones, to Pakistan to help them attack India. It's a different story, of course, that none of those strikes actually managed to stick and that we managed to intercept all of the Turkish drones. But just the response that's coming from Turkey is absolutely shocking, because India, during that earthquake, we sent 250 plus rescue and medical personnel to Turkey to help in every possible way. And so how Turkey has responded is by giving drones to Pakistan. They've sent military operatives even for these drones to Pakistan. Officials, experts who can help in operating these drones to therefore deploy in India. Now, India also deployed 6 C-17 aircraft with aid and with equipment Turkey has responded by sending a C-130J Super Hercules to Pakistan's aid, stationed in Karachi. Turkish advisors were there helping Pakistan figure out exactly where in India to strike with these swarm drones. Now, India, as part of the 2023 earthquake aid, also set up field hospitals for critical surgeries to help every innocent civilian. How has Turkey responded? Years later, by helping Pakistan attack innocent civilians, supplying arms consistently to a terror state that wants it for one reason, to bleed India. I'm going to keep showing you these contrasts because it's important to drive home the point of how we helped Turkey and what we're getting in return. Turkey was, in fact, we were one of the first responders to reach Turkey for help, with the government making it very clear that any country in need after a natural disaster will find a friend in India. And so while the Turkey government then hailed us, thanked us for all the help we've given, here's how they've also stabbed us in the back. You've got Erdogan, the Turkish president, at the time of this conflict, referring to Pakistanis as his brothers, and then saying that he hopes that Pakistan will continue fighting this sensible fight and whatnot. Absolute rubbish, of course, that Erdogan has put out. But the reality is that while India stepped up to help Turkey, this is how they've responded, by backstabbing us. So right now, what Turkey has done has served as a wake-up call of sorts. Now, we'll talk about trade in just a bit, but the common Indian, each one of us, stepping up right now to be a part of the Boycott Turkey trend. So it's a messaging essentially we're trying to send across that the Turkish economy will be hit. And I want you to take a look at these numbers. Now, Turkey has become a very popular holiday destination globally and here in India too, courtesy films, reels and whatnot, which is why you see that number that's risen. In 2024, it was at 2,31,000. Over 2,31,000 Indians essentially had visited Turkey last year. This year, there's been a huge drop. And by huge drop, I mean that's happened in the last 1 week alone. Bookings declining by 60%, cancellation surge by 250% in the last 1 week. Every Indian out there is now aware of the treachery by Turkey, and so they're sending across a resounding message that no, we will not aid Turkey's economy because we know where that money is going now. It's going to help Pakistan then attempt to attack us. Let's get you also an update coming in with regards to how tourists in India are now boycotting Turkey. I showed you some figures about how there's a cancellation of holidays to Turkey by Indian tourists taking a clear stand against the country. It's also resulted in a huge dip in flight prices to Istanbul and to Baku in Azerbaijan. A 30% dip in flight prices to Istanbul and Baku. The focus is on urging citizens to avoid products, services and destinations that trigger a broader economic impact. So Azerbaijan and Turkey feeling the heat because you've got airfares dropping for both Istanbul as well as for Baku, both which are emerged as tourist hubs for Indians. And you would have seen essentially that both these countries have been getting a huge influx of Indian tourists. No longer the case. In the last 1 week itself, you've seen that trend of it coming down. A huge dip, number of cancellations going up, and so airfares also coming crashing down. Now, while in Turkey, they may not feel much of an impact because Indians consist of a very small number in their total tourism numbers. Azerbaijan, Baku will definitely feel the pinch because Indians are a big, in fact, source of income as far as tourism goes for Azerbaijan. So that country, for openly supporting Pakistan, is definitely going to pay the price economically, looking at the fact that Indians have now cancelled their plans. So let's put the focus on the airfares currently to Istanbul. Flight prices from Delhi to Istanbul, for example, 45 days ago was around 41,000 rupees. It's dropped now to around 30,000 rupees. Now, after the Pahalgam attack is when essentially it went down. And the message was clear that those who are backing Pakistan, we will ensure that we don't support them. And then right after that, there was in fact a change. But now, if you look at the latest numbers, essentially, you can see that clearly Indians have taken a stand to cancel flights that they have booked for Turkey. And also, as far as current bookings are concerned, it's an all-time low, which is why airfares have also been hit. And so I want to take you through really the impact of this boycott trend on social media. This is, in fact, a post that we have done essentially an analysis on social media and found that as far as this entire boycott trend is concerned, more than 2 lakh posts with this hashtag were made by Indians. And this came right after the Indian Air Force revealed that Pakistan had used Turkish-made drones to target Indian air bases and civilian areas. Remember, the IAF had put out those details about 2-3 days ago. And since then, you can see clearly the trend here, the boycott Turkey trend soaring on social media platforms. That was essentially the trigger, the spark that's led to now that nationwide boycott call. So from tourism to Turkish apples to companies, all of them right now facing this boycott, this ban. And it's not just Turkey, it's also Azerbaijan. The airfares to Baku, which is one of the most popular tourist destinations right now globally for Indians, the capital of Azerbaijan. You see the flight tickets, again, has dropped from 49,000 rupees. This is Delhi to Baku flights about 45 days ago. It's now at 37,000 rupees. This came after Azerbaijan extended its support also rather openly to Pakistan after Operation Sindoor by India. So Indians are sending across a very clear message. You don't mess with us. You take us on and you will pay the price one way or another. And everyone doing their bit in any small way they can. At the end of the day, it makes a difference because you're seeing airfares coming crashing down and cancellations happening at double digits right now. People cancelling, refusing to travel to these two countries. And this is how you start a movement, make these countries essentially feel the pinch. Like I said, it isn't just limited to tourism. We'll get you an interesting report now about how 7 of India's busiest airports, you think of Delhi, Mumbai, Bengaluru, they're all serviced by a company called Celebi Aviation. This is a Turkish origin company. Despite Turkey's hostile stance post-Pahalgam, Celebi continues to handle all critical ground operations. So now, rising security concerns along with the social media outrage that I've been getting you details of are fueling calls to cancel its contracts to cut ties with Turkish aviation firms. Let's get you more details in our next report, whether that's going to happen or not.
Seven of India's 10 busiest airports, Delhi, Mumbai, Bangalore, Hyderabad, Chennai, Ahmedabad and Cochin, all have one thing in common, a connection with Turkey. All these nerve centers of Indian aviation are largely serviced by one company, Celebi, a company with origins in Turkey, a country that has directly and brazenly supported Pakistan's aggression and hostilities against India in the post-Pahalgam days. Celebi Aviation India has a stranglehold over a range of airport services in 9 major airports. These include the 5 biggest airports in India. The company handles everything from passenger services and load control in flight operations to ramp services. Celebi also handles general aviation services, cargo and postal services, warehouses and bridge operation, with access to the most sensitive areas of the airport. The numbers are mind-boggling. In a recent interview, the company revealed it was handling 100,000 Indian flights every year, as well as nearly 550,000 tons of cargo. While the central government is still silent on letting a Turkish company handle these sensitive operations, social media is not. It is in fact blowing up with demands that Celebi be booted out in the Operation Sindoor aftermath and all contracts be terminated. There are calls to boycott the company along with all things Turkish. with social media users questioning why Celebi Aviation has been given ground handling and cargo at New Delhi and other Indian airports which have sensitive military areas. Some posts have even suggested a role of one of the daughters of Turkey's President Recep Tayyip Erdogan in the company. Others have backed the claim and demanded an immediate security review of the company. Celebi is not the only company in the aviation sector feeling the heat. India's largest airline, Indigo, has also been hit by severe social media turbulence. Indigo not only has a code-share partnership with Turkish Airlines and Corendon Airlines, but also leases its aircraft from both for domestic and international operations. Indigo also has daily Istanbul flights between Delhi and Mumbai. Air India Express is also feeling the heat, having signed a deal in February with Turkish Technic for the maintenance of its Boeing 737 fleet.
Well, sources in the Ministry of Civil Aviation tell us that they're aware of the social media outreach and the Boycott Turkey campaign. However, any action will be dependent on the intervention of Ministry of External Affairs, as there are diplomatic ties involved between India and Turkey. Well, it's a wait-and-watch situation. Karishma Asdani reporting for Business Today Television, New Delhi.
Let's move on and get you an India Today world exclusive. New details have emerged from May 10th, the day when the Indian Air Force carried out airstrikes at 11 Pakistani air bases, including, of course, the Noor Khan Air Base in Pakistan. These are pictures that we're showing you right now from a space company, Satellogic, which was provided exclusively to India Today. It confirms that an aircraft matching the specifications of the aircraft used by the Pakistan Prime Minister was actually present at the Noor Khan Air Base. That's the picture right there. We decode that and much more in our next report.
This is one of Pakistan's most important air bases, struck by Indian missiles during the early hours of May 10th. Noor Khan or Chaklala Air Base is just 10 kilometers from the Pakistan Army headquarters and is often used for VIP transport. Exclusive satellite images of Pakistan's most high-profile air base have shed some light on new details of the events which took place that day. An investigation by India Today's OCENT team reveals that an aircraft matching the specifications of the one used by Pakistan Prime Minister Shehbaz Sharif may have been present at Noor Khan Air Base at the time of Indian airstrikes. The aircraft was situated approximately 435 meters from missile impact site at the Air Force Station. India Today also tracked the air movement of Pakistan Prime Minister Shehbaz Sharif during Operation Sindoor, which further indicates that his aircraft was present at the Noor Khan Air Base. On May 5th, an aircraft with call sign PAK-02, typically reserved for the Prime Minister, flew from Lahore to Rawalpindi. On May 11th, just a day after Indian airstrikes, the flight flew back to Lahore from Rawalpindi. After the airstrikes, the Indian Air Force on May 11th asserted that they had hit 11 Pakistani air bases with precision. India could have hit the VVIP aircraft at the Noor Khan Air Base, but showed restraint by only targeting the command and control unit at the Air Force Station.
The bases we struck include Chaklala, Rafiki, and mind you, Chaklala is Islamabad. Rahim Yar Khan, Sakar, sending a clear message that aggression will not be tolerated.
Soon after India's precise airstrikes on May 10th, Pakistan's DGMO called his Indian counterpart twice and sought ceasefire. The two countries announced a ceasefire the same evening. With Ankit Kumar, Bureau Report, India Today.
And with that exclusive report, I'm wrapping up this edition of NewsTrack. Thanks very much for tuning in.